I didn't find out the truth because I was smart. I found out because my sister forgot to log out of my Netflix account. I know that sounds stupid, but that's how everything in my life cracked open. One careless click. One profile I didn't recognize. One name that wasn't mine, my husband's or our kids'. And somehow, by the end of that week, I was questioning whether I had imagined half of my marriage. Let me back up before everyone jumps to conclusions, because I already know how Reddit works. People pick sides fast. They decide who's lying, who's toxic, who deserves what. I've reread this 100 times, and even I can't decide if I'm the villain or the victim. That's kind of the problem. I'm 32, married for 9 years. 2 kids, suburban life. Normal enough that no one ever looks too closely. My husband, Aaron, is the type people trust immediately. Soft-spoken, steady job, remembers birthdays. The kind of guy strangers ask for directions. The kind of guy therapists love because he communicates calmly. I used to think that meant safe. The first red flag wasn't cheating. It wasn't money. It wasn't yelling or bruises or anything. Dramatic enough that I could point to it and say, there, that's where it went wrong. The first red flag was that I started feeling like I was apologizing for existing. It crept in slowly. I'd talk too much at dinner and catch Aaron's eyes flicking toward the kids. That gentle look that meant let's keep things peaceful. If I was upset about something, work, my mom, literally anything, he'd sigh. Not loudly, just enough, and say, can we not do this right now? I started editing myself, trimming emotions, choosing silence because it felt easier than being too much. And every time I brought it up, Aaron would say the same thing. I don't know why you're making this a problem. That sentence will come back later. Remember it. Things really shifted after my younger sister Lily moved back to town. She's 5 years younger than me, recently divorced. Loud in a way I've never been brave enough to be. She laughs hard. She drinks too much wine. She says things she probably shouldn't. Aaron loved her immediately. Not in a flirty way. Not obviously. He just noticed her, asked about her day, remembered details. When she spoke, he listened in a way I realized he hadn't listened to me in years. I told myself I was projecting. That I was jealous because Lily was single and free and I was exhausted and bitter. That's what Aaron implied anyway, the one time I half joked about it. You're reading into it, he said, smiling. She's your sister. Right, my sister. Here's where I might lose some of you. Lily and I have never been close. We love each other, sure. But there's history, competition. Our parents always compared us. She was the fun one. I was the responsible one. When she messed up, I cleaned it. When I messed up, it was proof I wasn't trying hard enough. So when Lily started coming over more, like, a lot more, I didn't know how to say it bothered me without sounding petty. She'd stop by just to talk, end up staying for dinner. She'd text Aaron directly instead of going through me. Little things. Normal things. Things I couldn't justify being upset about. And yet every time she left, I felt smaller. The night everything tilted was a Tuesday. Nothing special. The kids were asleep. Lily had come over after a rough date and opened a bottle of wine. Aaron stayed up with us, even though he usually went to bed early. At one point, I got up to check on our daughter. When I came back, the vibe in the room had changed. I can't explain it better than that. They were sitting closer, not touching. Just aligned. I laughed it off. Poured another glass. Told myself to stop being weird. Later that night, after Lily left, I tried to bring it up, carefully, like I was defusing a bomb. Do you think Lily relies on you a little much? I asked. Aaron didn't look at me. He stacked the glasses in the sink with more force than necessary. So now I'm not allowed to support your sister? That's not what I said. You're imagining things, he snapped, and then immediately softened. You've been stressed. I get it. There it was again. That gentle rewrite of reality. I went to bed feeling guilty for even asking. A week later, I noticed Lily had created a Netflix profile on our account. Her name, pink icon. No big deal. She probably forgot to log out at our place. Except the watch history didn't line up. Shows Aaron and I watched together were suddenly halfway through episodes we hadn't touched. Romantic dramas. Late night stuff. The kind of thing I didn't watch anymore because I was always too tired. I asked Aaron about it casually. Oh, he said, barely glancing up from his phone. Must be the kids. The kids who were 8 and 5. I didn't push. I wish I had. The real crack came 2 nights later, when Lily texted me by accident. At least I think it was an accident. It was meant for Aaron. I know that because it started with his nickname. The one only I used to use before Lily started saying it too. I can't stop thinking about what you said. Last night felt different. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might throw up. I stared at the screen, waiting for the follow-up. The sorry wrong person. The clarification. None came. I didn't respond. I didn't sleep. I lay there next to my husband, listening to his breathing, wondering how long he'd been lying to my face and whether I'd helped him do it by never pushing back. By morning, I had convinced myself I was overreacting. Maybe she meant something else. Maybe I was paranoid. Aaron had always said I was sensitive. When I finally showed him the text, his reaction was immediate. Anger, not guilt, not confusion. Why are you going through Lily's messages? He demanded. She sent it to me. He grabbed his phone, typed furiously, then looked at me like I'd betrayed him. "You're blowing this out of proportion," he said. I was giving her advice. "She's fragile right now." Fragile, that word stuck. I wanted to believe him. God, I did. Because the alternative meant my sister and my husband had crossed a line I couldn't uncross. So I apologized. Yes, I apologized. And that's the part I'm most ashamed of. That night, Lily didn't come over. The next day, she didn't answer my texts. Aaron was quieter than usual. Kinder almost? He made dinner. He kissed my forehead. He said, "I hate fighting." I told myself it was over. Then, on Friday, while trying to put something on for the kids, I clicked the wrong Netflix profile and saw a show paused at a scene I'd never watched. A scene I recognized because Lily had told me about it the night before. That's when I realized something I hadn't wanted to admit yet. Whatever was happening between my husband and my sister wasn't new. And I wasn't just late to the truth. I'd been edited out of it. I didn't confront anyone right away. That's important. Because I already know what the comments will say. Why didn't you just ask? Why didn't you leave? Why did you stay? The truth is, once you've been told enough times that you're too emotional, you start policing yourself before anyone else has to. So I gathered evidence instead. Quietly. Pathetically. Like someone who already suspects the verdict but wants proof anyway. The Netflix thing was easy to dismiss on its own. Aaron doubled down on the kid's excuse when I casually brought it up again, laughing like I was silly for even remembering. Lily still wasn't answering my texts. That hurt more than I wanted to admit. Growing up, no matter how competitive we were, she'd always been there when it mattered. I told myself she was just embarrassed. What I didn't expect was how quickly other people would start making excuses for them too. That Sunday, we had dinner at my parents' house. Lily was there. So was Aaron. Watching them interact felt like standing outside my own life, pressing my face against the glass. They didn't touch. They didn't whisper. They barely even looked at each other. And yet, Aaron laughed at her jokes the way he used to laugh at mine. Lily kept checking his reactions before she spoke, like his approval mattered more than anyone else's. At one point, my mom asked Lily how she was holding up post-divorce, and Lily's eyes flicked, just for a second, to Aaron before she answered. That tiny moment did something ugly to my chest. After dinner, while Aaron helped my dad carry boxes to the garage, I cornered Lily in my old bedroom. "What's going on with you?" I asked. She rolled her eyes. "Nothing. You haven't answered me in days." "I've been busy." "With what?" I pressed. "Because you had no problem texting my husband." Her face changed. Not shock. Not confusion. Annoyance. "You showed him that text?" She snapped. That was when I knew. Because innocent people don't get mad at the wrong thing. "It was sent to me," I said. "What was I supposed to do?" "Delete it," she said flatly. Like an adult. I stared at her. "Why would you say that?" She sighed like I was exhausting. "You always do this. You take something small and turn it into a whole thing." My stomach twisted. "So you did mean it?" She crossed her arms. "Aaron's been there for me. That's all." "That's not all," I said, my voice shaking. "You don't text someone's husband like that." She laughed. Actually laughed. "You're married to him, not me. If you're insecure, that's between you two." Insecure. That word felt like a slap. I left the room before I said something unforgivable. On the drive home, I tried again with Aaron. I told him what Lily said. I told him how it made me feel. I cried. I hated that I cried, because it made me feel weak, but I couldn't stop. He listened quietly, hands tight on the steering wheel. When I finished, he said, "I think you want there to be something wrong because you're unhappy." I waited for the rest. The reassurance. The denial. It didn't come. "So, nothing inappropriate has happened?" I asked. He hesitated. "Just long enough." "I've never cheated on you," he said carefully. That wasn't the question. I noticed more after that. Patterns I couldn't unsee once I started looking. Lily's car parked near Aaron's office when she had no reason to be there. Aaron suddenly working late on nights Lily said she couldn't come over. Their phones always face down. Both of them getting defensive about privacy. Still, every time I tried to talk about it, I was shut down. "You're spiraling," Aaron said. "You're projecting," Lily said. "Stop dragging us into your marriage issues," my mom said when I tried to hint at it. I started writing things down in my notes app. Dates, times, what they said. What didn't add up. It felt insane. I felt insane. But here's where I need to be honest in a way that might make you hate me. I didn't want to know the truth. Because as long as it stayed fuzzy, I could pretend I wasn't the kind of woman whose sister and husband would do this to her. I could pretend I was just stressed, emotional, difficult. The turning point came from somewhere I wasn't watching at all. My daughter. She was 8. Old enough to notice things. One night, while I was tucking her in, she asked me a question so casually it almost broke me. "Why does Aunt Lily come over when you're not home?" I froze. "What do you mean?" "She comes sometimes when Daddy's working from home," she said. "They watch shows." My heart started pounding so hard I thought she'd hear it. "How often?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. "I don't know," she shrugged. "A lot?" I kissed her forehead and went straight to the bathroom. where I sat on the floor and cried silently into a towel like a teenager. When I confronted Aaron this time, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I told him exactly what our daughter said. His face went pale. She must be confused, he said, too fast. So Lily's been here? She stopped by a couple times, he admitted. You're making it sound worse than it is. Did you tell me? No, he said. Because you'd react like this. That was the moment something in me snapped. Not loudly, quietly. I told him I wanted space. He laughed like I'd said something dramatic. You're really going to blow up our family over your imagination? He asked. The next morning, Lily finally texted me. We need to talk. You're starting to scare me. Scare her. I agreed to meet her anyway. Because I still wanted to believe there was a version of this where I was wrong. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our houses. She looked tired, nervous, not guilty. That distinction mattered to me then. She leaned in and said, You need to stop. Stop what? I asked. Digging, she said. You're going to hurt people. Which people? I asked. She hesitated. And in that pause, I realized something that made my hands go cold. She wasn't afraid of hurting me. She was afraid of what I'd uncover. Before I could push further, she dropped the line that made everything worse. You're not the easiest person to live with, she said gently. You know that, right? I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so perfectly timed. That night, I went through Aaron's laptop for the first time in our entire marriage, and found something that made me question not just my relationship, but my memory. When Aaron said he had documentation about me, my first instinct was to laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it felt absurd. I'm not dramatic in the way people think. I don't scream. I don't throw things. I cry, sure, but quietly, internally. I shut down. I withdraw. That's not abuse. That's survival. Or so I thought. Aaron opened his laptop and turned it toward me. Different folders this time. My name, dates, screenshots, notes written in that calm, professional tone he used at work. April 12th. Disproportionate emotional response to minor disagreement. June 3rd. Memory of argument does not align with recorded facts. August 19th. Accusations without evidence. Children present. My chest tightened. You were keeping a file on me? I was protecting myself, he said. And the kids. That sentence changed something fundamental between us. I scrolled. Some entries were things I recognized, arguments we'd had, days I'd been overwhelmed. Others felt distorted. Conversations reframed to make me sound volatile. My words summarized without tone or context. His reaction softened. Mine sharpened. It was like reading about a stranger. Why does Lily appear in these notes? I asked, pointing. He didn't answer right away. She was worried about you, he said eventually. She saw what I saw. Of course she did. Suddenly, all those conversations they'd had made sense. Not secret rendezvous, strategy meetings. Two people aligning their stories. I felt dizzy. So you bonded over as me? That's not fair, he said. You're making it sound malicious. Isn't it? I shot back. He sighed, rubbing his temples. This is what I mean. Everything turns into an attack. That was the moment I realized how trapped I was. Because every reaction I had was evidence against me. If I stayed calm, I was cold and detached. If I got emotional, I was unstable. If I defended myself, I was aggressive. There was no version of me that didn't fit his narrative. I did something impulsive then. Something I'm still not sure was right. I sent the files to my mom. I needed an outside perspective. Someone who'd known me my whole life. Someone who wouldn't default to Aaron's calm authority. Her response came hours later. I'm concerned. We should talk. Not this is insane. Not he's manipulating you. Just concern. When I asked her directly if she thought I was unstable, she hesitated. That hesitation hurt more than if she'd said yes. You've always felt things deeply, she said carefully. That can be hard on people. Hard on people. That night, Lily texted me for the first time without defensiveness. I never wanted this to blow up, she wrote. We were trying to keep things from getting worse. Worse for who? I typed back. She didn't answer. The next escalation came fast. Aaron asked for a trial separation. Not because he wanted to leave, but because he wanted leverage. He suggested I stay with my parents to cool off. He said it would be better for the kids not to see tension. He promised it wasn't permanent. When I said no, he said, see? This is what I mean. The kids noticed immediately. My son asked why Daddy slept on the couch. My daughter grew quiet, watchful. Too watchful. One night, as I tucked her in, she said something that still makes my stomach turn. Daddy says you get confused sometimes, she whispered. I felt something crack. What else does Daddy say? I asked. She hesitated. That I should tell him if you cry. I confronted Aaron the next morning, loudly. I didn't care anymore. You're turning them against me, I said. He didn't deny it. I'm teaching them to be safe, he said. That was the moment I stopped trying to fix the marriage and started trying to survive it. I contacted a lawyer of my own. Quietly, secretly, the way he had. When I showed her the files, she frowned. This isn't evidence, she said. It's opinion. Relief flooded me so hard I almost cried. But then she added, however, if enough people corroborate it, it can become a pattern. Corroborate. Like a sister. Like a mother. Like a calm, consistent husband. That's when I realized something terrifying. I wasn't fighting just Aaron anymore. I was fighting a story. And stories are hard to kill once people believe them. The update that changed everything came 2 weeks later, from a place I never expected. Lily. She showed up at my door unannounced. No makeup, no confidence. Just shaken. I need to tell you something, she said. And for the first time since this started, I believed her. Lily stood in my doorway like someone waiting to be arrested. Her hands were shaking. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I can't do this anymore, she said. I can't lie for him. That sentence alone should have made me feel vindicated. Instead, it made me feel sick. I let her in. I didn't hug her. I didn't yell. I just sat across from her at the kitchen table where Aaron and I had once planned. Vacations, birthdays, a future that suddenly felt fictional. She took a breath like she'd practiced this. He told me you weren't safe, she said. Not violent. Just unstable. He said you forgot things. That you rewrote arguments. That he was scared one day you'd turn on the kids. My vision blurred. And you believed him? Yes, she said immediately. Too immediately. Because sometimes you did forget things. That landed harder than anything else she'd said. She leaned forward. I need you to hear this part carefully. I'm not saying you're lying. I'm saying there were times you remembered things differently than I did. I wanted to scream. Instead, I whispered, like what? She told me about a family dinner from 3 years ago. One I remembered clearly. Aaron and I arguing in the car afterward. Him accusing me of embarrassing him. Me crying in the bathroom when we got home. According to Lily, that argument never happened. She said Aaron was calm. That I suddenly shut down. That I locked myself in the bathroom for no reason. I shook my head. That's not true. I know, she said quickly. I think. But that's the problem. I don't know anymore. She told me Aaron had started pointing things out slowly, casually. Did you notice how she changed her story? She always forgets what she says when she's emotional. I'm worried one day she'll accuse me of something I didn't do. At first, Lily said she defended me. Said he was exaggerating, but over time she started noticing things too. Or thought she did. He'd ask me to back him up, she said. Just to keep the peace. Back him up. That's when the spreadsheets made sense in a different way. Not just documentation, but reinforcement. Teaching others how to see me. Why didn't you come to me, I asked. She laughed bitterly. Because every time I questioned him, he'd say I was triggering you. That I was making things worse. She wiped her eyes. I thought I was protecting the kids. That phrase again. The kids. Everyone protecting the kids from me. Here's where my reliability starts to crack. Because after Lily left, I went back through my memories again. And this time, I wasn't as sure. There were moments that felt fuzzy. Arguments where I remembered emotions more than words. Times I knew I'd felt hurt but couldn't. Reconstruct the exact sentence that caused it. I told myself that was normal. Trauma does that. Stress does that. But what if Aaron was right about one thing? What if I wasn't lying, but I also wasn't remembering accurately? That doubt ate at me. I made the mistake of telling Aaron about Lily's visit. He didn't get angry. He smiled. She finally told you, he said softly. I was hoping she would. That chilled me more than yelling ever could. So it's true, I said. You've been building a case against me. I've been trying to keep everyone safe, he replied. I asked him the question I'd been avoiding for months. Did you ever plan to take the kids from me? He didn't answer right away. I wanted options, he said carefully. Options. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything. Every argument. Every time I'd cried. Every time he told me I was misremembering. And then I remembered something small. So small it almost slipped by. A fight from years ago. One of the earliest ones. About money. About him buying something expensive without telling me. I remembered apologizing afterward. Even though I'd been right. Why had I apologized? The next day I did something desperate. I asked my doctor for my old medical records. What I found there made my stomach drop. Notes about emotional dysregulation. Mentions of memory inconsistencies. A referral I never remembered following up on. Except, I never remembered being told any of that. When I confronted Aaron, he didn't deny it. I went with you to that appointment, he said. You asked me to handle the paperwork. You were overwhelmed. I don't remember that. I don't remember asking. And that's the scariest part. Because now I can't tell where the manipulation ends and where my own mind begins. The audience usually switches sides here. They start asking if Aaron was actually the victim. If Lily was right. If I'm unreliable not because I'm gaslit, but because I'm genuinely unstable. I don't know the answer. All I know is this. 2 days later, I was served papers, and Aaron was asking for primary custody. The papers were served on a Wednesday afternoon, right after I got back from grocery shopping. I remember because the milk was still cold when I set it down, and because my hands shook so badly, I dropped the envelope twice before I could open it. Primary custody, supervised visitation until mental health concerns are clarified. That phrase kept repeating in my head like a glitch. Mental health concerns. I called Aaron immediately. He didn't answer. I texted. Nothing. When he finally replied hours later, it was one sentence. We can talk through lawyers now. It's better this way. Better for who? The next few weeks blurred together. Court dates, evaluations, meetings where people spoke about me like I wasn't in the room. I was advised gently, constantly to stay calm, to appear cooperative, to not react emotionally. Every instinct I had told me to scream. Instead, I smiled, nodded, took notes. And somewhere along the way, I started dissociating. I could feel it happening, like my body stepping half a pace behind my thoughts. I wasn't sure if that was trauma or proof they were right. The court ordered a psychological evaluation. I agreed immediately. Too immediately, according to my lawyer. You don't have to prove you're sane, she said. But I felt like I did. The evaluation took 6 hours. Questions that looped back on themselves. Memory tests. Emotional triggers. Childhood history. Relationships, perception of conflict. At one point, the evaluator asked, "Do you believe people in your life have conspired against you?" I hesitated. Because how do you answer that when they actually did? I believe they shared a narrative, I said carefully. Whether consciously or not. She wrote something down. Her pen scratched louder than it should have. Lily testified. That was the part I hadn't prepared for. She didn't lie. Not outright. That's what made it worse. She spoke softly about concern. About patterns. About moments she'd found disturbing in hindsight. She said she loved me. She said she hoped I got help. When it was over, she wouldn't look at me. My mom supported Aaron, not fully. Not enthusiastically. But enough. I just want what's best for the kids, she said, like everyone else. Aaron, meanwhile, was calm, consistent, reasonable. He spoke about me with sadness, not anger. Concern, not blame. He never once raised his voice. People like that always sound believable. Here's where the audience usually decides I'm unreliable for good. During my own testimony, I mixed up 2 dates. Just 2. Corrected myself quickly, clarified, explained. But I saw it then, the shift. The way the judge's eyes flicked up. The way Aaron's lawyer paused. One mistake was all it took. The evaluator's report came back inconclusive. Not unstable, not dangerous. But emotionally, reactive under prolonged stress with possible dissociative tendencies. Possible. Aaron's lawyer latched onto that word like it was proof. The custody decision wasn't final, but it was enough. Aaron got temporary primary custody. I got weekends. Supervised at first. Then unsupervised after demonstrated consistency. Demonstrated. I moved into a small apartment across town. I went to therapy twice a week. I journaled obsessively. I recorded conversations with permission because I didn't trust my memory anymore. That was the cruelest part. Even after everything, I still didn't trust myself. Lily stopped talking to me entirely. She told people she needed space to heal from the stress. I heard through a mutual friend that she and Aaron were no longer close. That detail should have felt validating. It didn't. Because by then, the damage was done. Aaron never admitted to an affair. Emotional or otherwise. Legally, it didn't matter. The court didn't care why he leaned on Lily, only that he seemed stable and I seemed questionable. Months passed. I stabilized. Or at least learned how to perform stability convincingly. Then something happened that complicated everything again. My daughter said something during one of our visits. Offhand, unimportant on the surface. Daddy says you're doing better now, she said. Because you stopped asking questions. I smiled, kissed her hair. But later, alone, I realized what that meant. He didn't think I was unstable. He thought I was dangerous when I questioned him. That realization didn't come with rage. It came with clarity. I stopped trying to prove anything after that. I focused on being present. On being consistent. On loving my kids without narrating the injustice of it all. Aaron and I now communicate exclusively through an app. He's polite. Warm even. He tells me he's glad I'm taking care of myself. Sometimes I wonder if he believes his own version now. If he ever doubts it the way I doubt mine. Here's the final update. The one that makes people argue. Last week, Lily emailed me. Just one line. I don't know if we did the right thing. I stared at it for a long time. Then I closed my laptop. Because here's the truth. I don't know how to explain cleanly. Aaron manipulated the situation. I'm sure of that. But he didn't invent my reactions. He didn't create my emotions. He used them. And maybe that's worse. Or maybe it means I handed him the tools. I'm rebuilding my relationship with my kids. Slowly. Carefully. I document everything. Not because I'm afraid of them anymore. But because I need to trust myself again. I don't know if I was gaslit or if I gaslit myself by refusing to see my own flaws until someone weaponized them. I don't know if Aaron is a monster or just a man who chose control over honesty. And I don't know if Lily was manipulated, or if she made choices she can't undo. All I know is this. If someone calmly tells you who you are long enough, you start checking yourself to see if they're right. So tell me, was I wrong for fighting back? Or wrong for not fighting sooner? And what would you have done if you couldn't trust your memory anymore?